In the icy streets of Kyiv on February 24, 2022, dawn is still a faint promise when a phone call shatters the pre-dawn silence. Volodymyr Zelensky, eyes heavy with sleep, reaches for the receiver. On the other end, the Minister of the Interior's voice cuts through like a blade. "Mr. President, it's begun. Russian tanks have crossed our border." Zelensky hangs up, his heart pounding, and turns to his wife Alina, nestled in the warmth of their bed. "They're here," he whispers, his gaze lost in the dark. The next words hit like a verdict. Russian paratroopers have landed in Kyiv, their mission singular, to eliminate the president and his family. The man who, just a few years ago, had millions of Ukrainians roaring with laughter on stage, is now the target of a manhunt. Zelensky, the former comedian, has no choice. He must become a wartime leader. This is his story, a saga of humor, heartbreak, and heroism. The tale of a man thrust by fate into the heart of a conflict reshaping the world. Let's rewind, far from the battlefields, to January 25, 1978. In the industrial city of Kryvyi in southeastern Ukraine, then under the iron grip of the Soviet Union, Alexander Zelensky, computer science professor, and Rima, an engineer, welcomed their first son Volodymyr. In this Soviet Ukraine tethered to Moscow, Russian is the language of the Zelensky household, as it is for many in the East. Kryvyi is a maze of gray tower blocks, dubbed the Ant Hill by residents of the Quarter 95 neighborhood, where young Volodymyr grows up. As a child, he's lively, curious, a bit mischievous. He dabbles in piano, tries his hand at ballroom dancing, and trains in Greco-Roman wrestling. But it's on stage that he truly shines. With his tousled hair and rebellious streak, he dreams of escape, far from the drab concrete of his city. The year 1991 is a turning point. Volodymyr is 13 when the Soviet Union collapses, fracturing the world into a patchwork of independent states. Ukraine, now sovereign, plunges into economic chaos. In Kryvyi, store shelves empty, violence creeps in, and the city earns the grim nickname Gangster City. But the Zelensky family holds firm. Alexander and Rima ensure their son steers clear of trouble. Volodymyr, meanwhile, falls in love with cinema, devouring Italian and French films, idolizing actors like Jean-Paul Belmondo. As a teenager, he adopts a rock star vibrating guitar and handfar, removed from the thuggish image of the local toughs. At 17, everything changes. With his high school friends, Volodymyr forms an amateur theater troupe specializing in comedy. Their improvised sketches in Quarter 95 are rough but earnest. And Volodymyr has a knack for commanding attention. He dreams big. Becoming a diplomat, perhaps studying at Moscow's prestigious International Relations School. But he fails the entrance exam and settles for law studies at Kryvyi Institute of Economics. In the evenings, like millions of Ukrainian youths, he tunes into KVN. It's a wildly popular TV show where teams from across the former Soviet Union compete in comedic sketches. For Volodymyr and his troupe, appearing on KVN becomes an obsession. They spend months writing, rehearsing, and refining their acts in the Zelensky family living room. In 1998, at just 20, their hard work pays off. They qualify for the competition in Sochi, Russia. Their first attempt is a disaster, knocked out before the 8 finals. Undeterred, they return the next year, fiercer, and claim victory. This triumph launches a meteoric rise. The troupe, now named Kyiv 95 after their home neighborhood, becomes a sensation. Their sketches, often biting, take aim at everything. Politicians, stereotypes, even Ukraine itself, likened without hesitation to an adult film star. From Moscow to Kyiv, they tour to roaring crowds, performing for both regular audiences and VIPs like Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and Ukrainian nationalist Viktor Yushchenko. At one such private event in the late 2000s, Volodymyr meets Vladimir Putin, the former KGB operative, not known for his sense of humor, remains stone-faced at Kyiv 95's jokes. No matter, Zelensky is a star. In 2003, KVN offers him a coveted role as a writer, a golden opportunity. But loyal to his friends, he declines. He has a bigger vision, his own production company. Thus, Kyiv 95 Studio is born, a powerhouse churning out TV shows and fiction for Russo-Ukrainian audiences. Within months, the company lands a lucrative deal with 1+1. Ukraine's equivalent of a major network owned by Igor Kolomoisky, an oligarch whose name will loom large in Zelensky's life. At this point, Volodymyr is at the peak of his fame. He rubs shoulders with showbiz elites, competes in Ukraine's version of Dancing with the Stars, which he wins with his electrifying moves, and marries Alina, a screenwriter he met at university, who joins his production company. Life seems perfect, until history catches up with Ukraine. November 2013. President Viktor Yanukovych refuses to sign an association agreement with the European Union, sparking outrage among Kiev's pro-European youth. Protests erupt, soon dubbed Euromaidan. Ukraine is split. The West dreams of Europe, while the East and South feel tied to Russia. The demonstrations escalate, turning violent. In February 2014, 120 people lose their lives. Yanukovych, caught on camera fleeing with artwork under his arm, is ousted by parliament. In the East, pro-Russian separatists, backed by Moscow, oppose the revolution. The Donbass War breaks out, a bloody conflict that will drag on for 8 years. Zelensky, then 36, is shaken. Invited to speak on 1+1, he stuns viewers by supporting the revolution. Despite his Russophone roots and ties to Moscow's elite, he shuts down Kvartal 95's Moscow offices, a bold move. For him, comedy must now do more than entertain, it must provoke thought. In this climate, he creates Servant of the People, a series where he plays Vasil Petrovich Holobordko, a history teacher catapulted to the presidency by chance. Launched in 2015 on 1+1, the show becomes a phenomenon. Drawing 20 million viewers, nearly half of Ukraine's population, Zelensky portrays an everyman, charismatic, battling corruption. The line between fiction and reality blurs. On the streets, people call him Mr. President. The idea takes root. In 2017, he joins the Decisive Change Party, renaming it Servant of the People. Officially, it's not a political project. Not yet. On December 31st, 2018, as Ukraine prepares to hear President Petro Poroshenko's New Year's address on 1+1, Zelensky's face appears instead. Live, he announces his candidacy for the 2019 presidential election. His wife, Alina, thinks it's a prank. But he's dead serious. His campaign is unconventional. No interviews, no rallies, just Instagram videos reaching his 5 million followers. Backed by Kolomoisky, who sees him as a way to undermine Poroshenko, Zelensky embodies a break from the old guard. He rides a wave of anti-establishment sentiment, promising to fight corruption and bring peace to Donbass. But his platform is vague, and his political inexperience glaring. He still struggles with Ukrainian, taking crash courses to catch up. Yet on March 31st, 2019, he leads the first round with 30% of the vote. The inter-round debate is held in Kyiv's Olympic Stadium before 70,000 spectators. He outshines Poroshenko. On April 21st, he's elected president with 73% of the vote, a landslide bolstered by surprising support in the Russophone East. On May 20th, 2019, Zelensky, 41, takes office. He arrives at Bankova, Ukraine's equivalent of the White House, with a loyal entourage. Sergei Sheffer, a former Kvartal 95 colleague, becomes an advisor. Ivan Bakhanov, a childhood friend, heads the security services. Some 30 Kvartal associates join the upper echelons of power, drawing criticism. Zelensky hits the ground running. He dissolves parliament, secures an absolute majority in snap elections, launches anti-corruption reforms, digitizes government services through a smartphone app, and pledges to fix Ukraine's crumbling roads. But his inexperience and past as a wealthy showbiz figure, a $4 million Tuscan villa he failed to declare, exposed by the press, tarnish his image. In September 2019, scandal erupts. Donald Trump withholds $400 million in military aid to pressure Zelensky into investigating Joe Biden in 2021. The Pandora Papers reveal Zelensky allegedly hid funds in the British Virgin Islands. His approval rating plummets from 91% to 58% in 2 years. Peace in Donbass, his core promise, seems out of reach. Late 2021, tensions escalate. Russia amasses troops at Ukraine's border. In January 2022, the US warns Zelensky of an imminent invasion. He's skeptical, as are many in Kyiv, but on February 23, 1:50, Russian soldiers are poised to strike. The next day, the invasion begins. Tanks roll in, explosions echo, Russian paratroopers land in queue. Awakened by the Minister of the Interior, Zelensky rejects US and UK offers to evacuate. "I need ammunition, not a ride," he declares. He declares martial law, mobilizes men aged 16 to 60, and speaks to the world through videos. In khaki, sporting a nascent beard, he becomes the face of Ukrainian resistance. His speeches to the European Parliament, Cannes, the World Bank electrify audiences. His approval soars back to 91%, and globally he's hailed as a hero, named Times Person of the Year in 2022. But the war is brutal. In Bucha, 458 bodies are found, some executed. The International Criminal Court investigates war crimes. In September 2022, Putin annexes for Ukrainian regions, a move condemned by the West. Ukraine plans a 2023 counter-offensive, but it falters due to delayed Western arms and fortified Russian lines. By 2024, Zelensky's popularity dips again, and accusations of authoritarianism surface, with martial law blocking elections. In early 2025, Donald Trump's return to the White House shifts the dynamic. Pushed to negotiate, Zelensky proposes a ceasefire. But Russia's demands demilitarization, severance from NATO, Zelensky's ouster are unacceptable. Volodymyr Zelensky's story is that of a kid from Kryvyi Rih, who became a comedy star. Then president through the power of a fictional role turned real. It's the tale of an ordinary man turned symbol of resistance, driven by charisma and courage, yet haunted by inexperience and past controversies. As the war grinds on, his fate hangs in the balance, caught between the hope of peace and the reality of an endless conflict.